Got home early, heard my girlfriend talking about cheating on me as if it's an achievement. So I packed up and left without saying a word. She is now making up excuses. I came home early and overheard my girlfriend bragging about cheating on me, so I left without a word. Now she's desperately trying to find me, but I've blocked her everywhere. A 38-year-old male, I just found out my girlfriend, 36 female, of 5 years, cheated on me, and I found out in the worst way. Just some background info on me: I've never been married, nor do I have any kids. It's not that I don't want either, life just hasn't had those plans for me yet, I guess. Anyway, to the story. Friday after work, I left to go on a weekend trip with the guys to one of my buddies' cabins on the lake. Nothing too crazy: fishing, drinking games, just good old fun. Usually, we do these trips about every 3 months to get time to ourselves and give our SOs a break from us. I usually stay through the entire weekend and just leave from there to go to work on Monday morning. However, this weekend, I left my laptop in the office room and forgot to grab it. So, around 4 p.m., I started to head home. I figured I'd be there by 6 o'clock and, let's call her Rachel, wouldn't have eaten by then. So, I called in an order at our favorite Italian place, stopped and picked it up, and headed to the house. I walked in, and everything seemed normal. I could hear Rachel laughing in the kitchen, so I figured I'd just walk in and surprise her. As I got closer, I started to overhear the conversation she was having on the phone, and in an instant, my life was shattered. I assumed she was talking to her sister or maybe one of her friends, but the conversation basically went like this. "Last night was just amazing. He was such a considerate lover." Pause. "I'm telling you, I've never had anything like it." Pause. "We met on Tinder, and he took me out last night. By the time we made it through the door, we barely made it to the sofa." Pause. "Oh God, big, like twice as big as..." Inserts my name. Pause. "I'll definitely be taking him for a test drive again." After that line, I just dropped the food on the floor. Rachel heard it and turned around. By that time, I already had tears welling up in my eyes. She hung up the phone and tried to get to me, but I just pushed her off, went up to the office, grabbed my laptop, and left. Rachel has been hysterically texting and calling for the past 4 days, and I haven't answered once. I'm staying at a motel a couple of towns over, so I doubt she will be able to find me. My buddies and mom have called as Rachel has frantically been trying to locate me, but I've assured everyone I'm okay and there is nothing to worry about. My life has been ruined by a stupid phone call. I really thought this was the girl I was going to spend the rest of my life with. I'm an only child, and my mom keeps reminding me she wants grandkids. I had planned on proposing this year on the 4th of July, as it would be our 6th year anniversary. I've already got the ring, and my buddy and his wife already know about the plan as they are the ones who set us up and hosted the 4th cookouts. Any advice from you on here would be appreciated. This is the first time I've dealt with infidelity in any relationship. I'm really just broken at this point. Do I contact Rachel? Should I hear her out? After that phone call, the thought of her just makes me sick to my stomach. TIA for anyone who reaches out. Comments. She was bragging about cheating on you. You will never forget what you heard. Time to move on. To add to this, she showed you who she is. Be glad you learned now and not after being married for many years. You have already heard everything from her you need. Don't look back. Best case scenario, arrange for your friends to collect your things and never speak to her again. The only closure to be had in this is from her side. Never give her a chance to apologize. Don't talk to her friends, or if your mutuals try to give you a message from her, ghost them too. Make a post to social media explaining what happened. Tag her. Yes, do this. Since you're a nice guy who probably can't imagine doing this to her, you will want to try and understand and fix things. You'll try to be a pick-me. Make it loud in public so you can't go back. You dodged a bullet. Trust me, I found out this past year that half my life is a lie. After 27 years together with 3 kids, my WW cheated on me multiple times over those years. I had an opportunity to leave her the first year we dated when I found out she probably cheated on me, but I tried to understand and fix things. Don't be me. Update 1. 406. Hello everyone. First off, I would like to thank everyone for their kind words. I have had a very stressful week, and while I did not feel up to replying to anyone's posts, I want you all to know that I read them, and your words helped me through the week. This has been a devastating event for me, and each and every one of you that commented or reached out through chat brightened my day just a tiny bit. With that said, here is the most recent update. Last Friday night, after my buddies got to the hotel, I explained what I had heard on the phone call. All 3 of them were stunned, to say the least. They asked if I had seen any signs of this, and to be honest, I really hadn't. I said I didn't know what I was going to do. I informed my one buddy that the proposal was off, and given the circumstances, he completely understood. One thing I had my buddies do when they left their houses was turn off tracking in case their significant others were checking. Getting back to Rachel, I know she is close with one of the wives, but at this point, I didn't want to take any chances. That night, we spent the night at the hotel bar, and I tailspun pretty hard. Shot after shot after shot. It wasn't pretty. My buddies were getting calls all night from their SOs asking where they were, and to their credit, they stood their ground and backed me up, just saying that we were safe and not to worry. One SO asked to speak with me, assuming we were where they thought we were, but I didn't want to talk to her. She kept saying Rachel was worried and just wanted me to come home. I just told my buddy to deal with it and that I'd fill them in another time. 5:39. I spent most of the night hitting on the bartender, which I'm not proud of, and a couple of girls who were traveling for work. The next day, I thanked them all for spending time with me, and they took off back home. This week, I had one of my buddies scope out the house we were renting, as it was on his way to work. He gets to work after Rachel and I would have already left for the day. Rachel had taken Monday and Tuesday off but went back to work on Wednesday. As soon as he informed me of this, I went to the house and started packing as much stuff as I could. The house was a mess, dishes in the sink, clothes laying everywhere, and the trash full of takeout and ordered food. It took me about 3.5 hours to get all my crap out. Before I left, I cleaned up for Rachel as a final gesture. That afternoon and evening, I got flooded by Rachel with calls and texts after she realized that I had come home and gotten all of my things. For now, I'm staying at my mother's house until I can find a place of my own this fall. I spoke with the landlord, and without Rachel's signature, he won't remove me from the lease, meaning I will have to cover my half of it until October. My mom has said I can stay with her until then, at which point I will try to find a new place. I know, a 38-year-old moving back in with his mother. How amazing life has treated me. 7:09. I finally contacted Rachel on Thursday and told her we could meet up at a local bar and grill downtown Friday evening. I told her one of my buddies would be attending to make sure everything was on the up and up. She complained for a few minutes, saying she wanted me to come home and talk with her so we could move past this. But I told her if she wanted to see me, this was how it was going to be. Eventually, she agreed. So, Friday night, Rachel showed up after my buddy and I had been there for about an hour. I had already eaten and taken a couple of shots of seasick to calm me. We sat down, and she wanted to make small talk, asking about me and blah blah blah. I cut that garbage off. I told her I had a list of questions. Immediately, her eyes welded up. I asked her how long this had been going on. She swore this was the first and only time. I told her to cut the BS. I said there was no chance we were ever getting back together, so just tell me the truth so I can have my closure and move on with my life. She stuck to her guns for a few minutes, but then, as most of you predicted, she came clean. Every time I went on those trips for the past 2 years, she thought I was going to cheat on her, so she was having her fun too. This set me off. I told her she was using this as a effing excuse just to sleep around. I then asked who she was talking to on the phone, but she refused to give me an answer. I asked if they use condoms, and she said sometimes. I told her she was lucky I got an STD test because I'm clean, so she doesn't have to worry about getting one, unless her most recent partner didn't use one. Finally, before I left, I told her about my plans for the July 4th proposal. I showed her the ring and told her that I was going to propose at our friend's party because that was where they introduced us. It was around here that she just started crying. She begged for another chance. I told her that I will always love her, but we are over. So, yeah, she's been messaging me all day, but I'm going to block her here soon. So I'm just sitting here eating some B-dubs and drinking beer while watching the fight. Hopefully, Poirier wins, but I'm doubting it. My life is a train wreck. Anyway, thanks guys, for listening. I don't know if I'll update again, as I doubt I will ever talk to that nurse again. Comments. I knew she was going to say it was only once. They always do that. Dummies. Also, this line. Every time I went on those trips for the past 2 years, she thought I was going to cheat on her, so she was having her fun too. Blame shifting, classic cheater move. It's your fault, OP? I think not. I'm sorry your landlord didn't let you out of the lease, but at least you have your mom. It's not ideal, but it's only temporary. 100% her loss. Too bad. She was about to become someone's wife. A good man chose her, wanted her, and she threw it all away for fun. It's time to focus on you and your healing. Go easy on the alcohol, be careful, you're going to be okay. OP, I'm glad that you are clean and sad that she was such a POS and used as a justification that she thought you were going to cheat on her on those trips. Sad also that she didn't want to tell who she was talking to, but I bet it must be someone in the inner circle of friends and most possibly one of the wives of your buddies. She didn't want to give her because they could cause trouble with a male friend for supporting a cheater, and might as well, she was doing that too. So, warn your buddies of these possibilities. Now, about her reaction and manner in the restaurant, she showed no remorse at all and even tried trickle truth. Because if she were remorseful for what she did, she would have broken before the ring thing. She came to her senses about her stupidity when you showed her that ring and talked about the proposal. Well, OP, now it is time for you to leave alcohol and start your healing journey. I hope everything goes well, and please, if you come to find who was on the other end of that call, update us. Update 2. 10:39. Hey there, fellow Redditors, I just want to thank each of you for the kind words. It means a lot to me. A few things have happened in the last day, so I figured I'd fill you in. Nothing too exciting, but nonetheless, here it is. Rachel is no longer invited to the 4th of July cookout, so I'm free and clear and don't need to worry about any confrontation with her. If you remember in my last post, while at the bar, one of the wives was trying to talk to me. She is the wife that hosts the 4th of July cookout. Apparently, Rachel had told her that she had only cheated once, and it was a huge mistake. That's why she was trying to get me to talk things out with her. When I spoke with her this past Tuesday, I let her know the whole truth. She immediately called Rachel, who confirmed my version of events. She was livid and started yelling at Rachel, telling her it would be best if she didn't show up to the event on the 4th because I was going to be there. Frankly, what Rachel did to me was vile and disgusting. She then asked me to forgive her and said she had no idea. I explained it wasn't her fault, and she had nothing to ask forgiveness for. We were both sold a lie by someone we cared about. As for who Rachel was on the phone with, I can only imagine it was her sister. The two wives who were friends with Rachel have remained adamant that they had no idea Rachel was doing this. Apparently, on the Saturday evenings while we were away, they would have a girls' night at my house until about 11 p.m., and talk about typical girl stuff while drinking wine. The one who isn't even close friends with her but partook in these events confirmed it. The other thing that makes me think it was her sister is that I've attempted to reach out to her 3 times now, and I've gotten no text back, no call back, nothing. Her mother has called and said she's upset about the breakup and asked if there is anything they can do to change my mind, but I told her that's just not happening. I went back to work on Monday after taking the week off, so I'm back to my normal routine now. No more booze in the near future, my liver will thank me for that. This community has helped me a lot, and I personally wanted to thank each and every one of you for all of it. I don't know if I'll update this account again, as it seems this is the end of the situation. By the way, Rachel has been blocked on all platforms, so right now, she has no way to contact me. The cookout host said Rachel isn't doing well right now, as she told me that before I explained what really happened. But that's life. I'm not doing well either, but I'm moving on and putting all this behind me. Thanks again, community. Y'all rock. Story 2. I worked hard for my wife, took care of our kid, and did all the chores while she came home late every day. So, I followed her and found out that she is cheating on me. My wife and I were married for 4 years. The first time my wife and I met was at a football stadium. I had gone out with a couple of friends to support my football team, and she was there with her family too. While the game was going on, she tried to take a picture, and since I was sitting a row from where she sat, she captured me in the image. Without caring if I was intruding or not, I smiled as she took the shot. Well, I'll say we became friends afterward because she was so lovely and polite. After she saw me grinning from ear to ear in the pictures, she asked if she could send the pictures to me. It was hilarious because I thought she would be mad that I ruined her moment. Instead, we became friends. From there, we exchanged contacts and followed each other on Facebook. After the day we met, we didn't talk for a while. We started talking again after she sent a message on Facebook, and from there, we started talking. It started as random questions and gradually moved to personal questions. I liked her personality. She was energetic and always fun to talk to on the phone or chat with. So, after weeks of talking and getting to know each other, I asked her out on a date, and she accepted. Our first date was so smooth, and it even led to other dates, subsequently leading to a relationship. I had fallen in love with her, and she made me feel like a baby again. I was heartbroken in my previous relationship and was too afraid to fall in love again, which was more reason I buried myself in work and tried to shut out any woman that came my way. But with my wife, it was different. She made me feel safe and assured, and I loved her so much. My mind was at rest with her, and eventually, we got married. My wife had always wanted a child, So we had one child in the first year of our marriage. She was already 2 months pregnant before we got married, and although I didn't want a child so fast, I agreed for us to have a child because of how excited she was. When our daughter came, I was so happy, and I loved how she lit up my world. Her presence pushed me to work harder and become a better father and husband. As my daughter grew older, she spent more time with me because I worked from home and had enough time to take her to her daycare and bring her back home. My wife was a nurse, so the only time she got to spend with our daughter was either on her days off or when she was at home. Also, because I was the one who spent most of the time at home, I took care of the house, cleaned, did the laundry, and on some days, I would cook. I did this because I wanted to ease the burden on my wife and loved a neat house. I also knew she was always exhausted every time she came home, and the possibility of her cleaning the house, going grocery shopping, and cooking with the little time she had to rest was almost impossible. So, I did all I could to make life easier for us. We continued like this for the first 3 years of our marriage and were both happy. We barely had issues except for our normal couple fights, which never lasted a day. We were also great parents to our daughter and did everything possible to raise her well. Everything was great between us until the 4th year of our marriage. It all started with my wife not returning when she was supposed to. For example, if she worked the afternoon shift and was supposed to come home in the evening to be with us, she would not return until the following day and would claim she was covering up for a sick colleague or she decided to work overtime. In the beginning, I understood her reasons, but it got to a level I could not take it anymore. It was becoming more of a habit than an excuse, and it affected our relationship. Our daughter was beginning to miss her mother, and each time, I had to devise a dozen excuses for why her mother did not come home. Also, when all of this started, our intimacy reduced terribly. She no longer allowed me to touch her, and each time I tried to, she would either complain about being so tired or say she was not in the mood. This continued for weeks, and it even rolled into months. It got so bad that I became afraid for our marriage, and I signed us up for marriage counseling, but she didn't attend the appointment once. As time passed, our relationship deteriorated, and I had to open up to a close friend. He first suggested that my wife was either seeing someone or was tired of our marriage, and none of that made sense. I trusted my wife so much, and it never crossed my mind that she would cheat on me. To even show how much I trusted her, I argued with my friend that my wife couldn't cheat, and I believed she was only working so hard so we could give our daughter the kind of future she deserved. I also thought about the aspect of my wife being tired of our marriage and tried to talk to her about it. But every time I brought it up, her response would either be cold or she would sound so uninterested in the conversation. After trying so many times to make things right, the idea of my wife seeing someone else crossed my mind. Already in the previous months, there were many changes with her. Before, she used to go grocery shopping wearing simple clothes, but she became more conscious of how she looked and would even combine 2 to 3 perfumes just to go grocery shopping. I didn't think it was suspicious because I had always complained about how she dressed outside the house, and she used to look homeless before, which was a major improvement on her end. It was something I complained about all the time, and I was glad she was finally listening. So, one day, my wife was playing with our daughter in the living room, and I was in the kitchen trying to make dinner for us. I remember her phone ringing, and instead of taking the call in the living room like I expected her to, she rushed out of the house immediately. I knew something was wrong. In our 2 years of dating and 4+ years of marriage, my wife had never gone outside to take a call, no matter what the call was about. Out of curiosity, I left what I was doing and followed her. I didn't go out of the house, but I could hear most of her conversation because she left the door open. Before she returned, I hurried back to the kitchen. After she came back inside the house, she acted all cool, played with our daughter for a few minutes, and then turned to me to ask about the groceries we needed to replace. I mentioned the things, and she made the list. After she was done, she told me she'd be going to get them at the grocery store since she wasn't doing anything at the moment. I didn't need a psychic to tell me something was off. Her body language said it all, and I watched her go into our room to shower, change, and wear light makeup, for grocery shopping. We had not shared our husband and wife bond or even communicated like we used to in months, but there she was, excited and all dressed for grocery shopping. As soon as she left, I asked my closest neighbor if his oldest daughter could help me watch after our daughter for a few minutes, and he agreed. It was such a relief. Without wasting time, I drove to the grocery store I knew she went to. On getting to the grocery store, I waited a bit, and just as I was about to step out of my car to confirm if she was genuinely shopping, I saw my wife walking out with a man from the grocery store. She had her hand around his waist, and his hands were crossed over her shoulder. It was already evening, and the whole store was lit up. I actually saw them through the see-through glass, and before they stepped out of the store, I already charged inside in anger. I was boiling, and to this date, I could not believe I had acted that way. My wife was so shocked to see me that she did not know what to do or say. I didn't confront or talk to her because, deep down, I knew we were done. Instead, I focused on her affair partner, yelled at him, and caused a scene. People gathered around to take videos and photographs, but I didn't mind. I was just so angry. In the end, his manager found out about his affair with my wife, and he was fired. As for my wife, she came home that night to beg and cry, but no matter what she said, I was too disappointed to forgive her. She said she did it because she thought she would get away with it and return to me, which hurt me even more. That same night, I kicked her out of the house, and she crashed at her friend's place. She had been seeing him for more than 6 months, and I was completely unaware. That whole time, she was telling stories of how she covered for her friend at work and blah blah. She was spending the night with him while I looked after our daughter alone. There's no need to ask if we divorced or not because we did. I could not just forgive her or forget she cheated on me while I was trying to be a good husband and father. Thankfully, I won custody of our daughter, mainly because she was never around in the first place, so it was better she stayed with me. It's been over a year, and I still have not gotten over the pain and hurt I felt. I was so disappointed, and I still am. Right now, my daughter is my top priority, and I will try my best to be a good father and teach her to be faithful to whoever she ends up with.